Yeah.
All
Th-
right,
Thanks,
you're
Martin.
on.
Woo! Okay, so let's start it. Let's go. Hello there.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing okay.
I'm doing well too. Are you enjoying your day?
Yes, I am. What's your name?
My name is Betty Nine.
Tell me about yourself.
I was born in Riverside, California on March 15th, 2003. My father is a robot assistant. My mother works for Honda. I have two sisters, Maya who is 17 and Simone who is 20. I am currently a student at USky.
What classes are you taking?
I am currently taking classes in computer science, math, and physics.
Wonderful.
It's great to be able to learn about the things that interest me.
Okay, I'm pausing it here. Um,
Thomas, there's a weird thing with the timing on mine where you're talking and she's responding to the last thing that you asked.
oh, there's a delay?
Is
Yeah,
everybody else getting that?
yeah, I'm gonna say the same
I
thing.
am too.
Really?
It sounds like you're speaking before she quite finishes.
Let me
Maybe
try
like 2
unplugging
seconds or so.
the speakers and try to get it all working the same.
So you
Just
were
have to give
talking
her
first.
more time to finish her answer before you ask to respond to it.
Yeah.
Well, let me
Probably
try,
has something to do with network delay between your computer and ours.
but that's weird. It's coming, it shouldn't be different. It's all coming from the same file. All right, let me try it again. What time do you have?
It is currently 7:32 p.m.
Did that work?
Yeah,
Yes.
Is it still having long delays? I'm going to ask like 3 questions in a row and see what happens.
she says it's 7:32. My clock says 7:37. So
Yeah, 7:32 was the last time she updated, or the software updated her.
okay.
It's only updating every time we do a exchange of voice IO. Let's see. What's your favorite band?
I really enjoy the Beatles, Lady Gaga, and Blondie. They're all great performers with a lot of energy and creativity.
What's your favorite Beatles song?
My favorite Beatles song is Help.
Okay, did that come out right or did it overlap?
It's overlapping. Yeah, you're kind of walking on her.
That's so weird because it's right on time for me. I don't know how to
If you
change.
just if you just wait a couple seconds before you ask your next question, I think she'll be done.
I'll just do 1, 2, 3 and go on like that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what's interesting is I said the favorite band was the Beatles, and then I said, "What's her favorite song?" I don't have that. She made that up.
What did she say?
She said, "Help" or something.
Yeah, that's a Beatles song.
Let's see.
Yeah.
She also
Great
mentioned
song.
some other bands besides Beatles, Lady Gaga, and Blondie. I think she named some others that were maybe in that same time frame or genre, although those are not together either.
Yeah, they call that AI hallucination. All right. So let's really dig in here. Let's do a deep dive. What did you say your favorite song was?
My favorite song is Help by the Beatles.
What part of Help do you like the best?
I think the best part of the song is when the chorus comes in and the music gets more intense. It's a great song to sing along to and it always gets me pumped up.
What's the first line?
The first line of the song is help. I need somebody.
Is 3 seconds long enough,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
more or less? All right.
Yeah.
Now I'm at a good stopping point. Do any of you guys want to try querying here? No? So this is the prompt. What I'm asking is how can we improve this? And that's my question to you guys. I want you to help me figure it out.
So
Um,
the prompt is her personality definition then, or
Yeah, that's a
her
personality
history.
profile.
Okay.
I don't know if it's an improvement, Thomas, because I'm just starting on this journey, but I have a couple of ideas of what's working for me with that other model. I'd like to know though, with your prompt, does that just get sent to the API once, or does it go with each request?
It has to go with each request, otherwise it doesn't remember it,
Okay,
which is expensive
yeah.
in the long
So
term.
with like I've noticed with I don't have a big prompt like this with mine, but I would say just an average little short exchange is going to use up 100 tokens. What do you think you're averaging with each little exchange with this big prompt? Like, because it displays it in the dump. I'm just curious.
Well, let's look at OpenAI and take a look. I mean, it's right there. I'm going to pull this on the other screen because I don't want to reveal any secret,
Right.
passwords and stuff like that because I don't know where I'm going right now. Let's see. Manage account. There we go. Okay, yeah, I can bring that in. Here. So on March 1st, I used 48 cents. Probably 50, almost 50 cents, I guess. Today I've used 12 cents so far. And what have I done? Nothing. Well, we've had, 3 or 4, well, maybe 10 interactions of exchange for 13 cents. So I'm guessing it's a penny per interaction. I'm not sure. Now, one thing that I plan on doing is having GPT summarize the conversation every so often and then replace the ongoing prompt with a summary of it. So this way it shortens it up. Another thing is I can remove characters. I can remove characters from the prompt. Now characters, new lines and stuff help me look at the prompt. Like this here, every line has a new line. Every line has a period. Well, I can cut out that new line and period and just, well, I guess I need something to separate it. But a new line is a 2 characters /n or something, which are hidden on what's that?
I know one thing it can do. Now that I think of it, if it's sending this with each request,
Yeah.
then essentially this is very analogous to the Prezzo that I did on squad models. So essentially, like, you're building a corpus and then you're sending it and you're asking a question or making some request out of it. So really, if you wrote code to extract only things that were remotely relevant ahead of time, so that then you could give it a very small prompt. Like if you asked about, the work, you could pull only the things out of your local database that had to do with work and send that off.
Yeah, you're right. I could do that. I'm just waiting for it to come down in price. I hope it'll come down in price to 1/10 that or
I
something.
have a remark. I spent a little bit of time fooling with Codex, which is the model that generates code rather than text. And when I was doing that, I found that I did not have to repeat the prompt.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know what it is. I mean, where's the switch that says repeat the prompt? I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah, I'll have to look deeper into that. I'll have to try that then. As you can see here, there's a lot of characters I could remove because there's a /R and a /N, and just compress this thing, and a period. I could probably just end them all with periods or /Ns or something. The only thing I get out of it is a better readability. But
Well,
that's something.
but you have to ask yourself, how does it know what's the end of what's the terminator for name, for instance? What does the API expect to terminate name?
I don't know. I just tried this and it worked.
So you might want to experiment.
And there's no instructions on this. There's no, there's, it's like one of those old video games where you're in the middle of a room and you don't know what to do, and you have to look at everything and try everything. There's just no instructions for this.
Yeah, I saw a lady the other day giving a presentation. This was, and she was talking about how people in the future, if they don't already, are going to have jobs in prompt engineering.
Oh yeah. Whoa. Yeah. I never thought about that. That's good.
And that there's going to be degrees in prompt engineering, and like she's some kind of chat GPT expert.
Can one become an expert in 6 months?
Thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was some associates of Suresh, and they had this webinar thing, and we're talking about it. It was interesting. Let me show you the prompt that really changed things for me.
Yeah, be glad to see it.
I wonder if you could ask it to update your prompt based on recent interactions.
You probably could, and then you'd have to save it off, and because it can't
Feed it
interact.
back in.
Yeah, you could do that. You'd have to code everything like that. It can't do it itself. And it doesn't have permission to write to my drive. Although I could give it permission to write to my drive. Would that be
You could put it to a text file, then you could just load that back in
true?
if you liked it.
Can you,
Like
can
the
you
last
guys see
person
my
talked to
screen?
where it talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, we see it.
So what I was doing initially, the big difference maybe between this model and the one I think that you're using, and I think they're both really good, is that this one you give it an array, but I'm not really using the fact that it takes an array, because what I found in that array format, which was yes, it was helpful for maintaining context through a multiple back and forth dialogue. So it's good at that. But I was losing the personality, and in their documentation, they were saying that initial kind of system prompt thing, that was given low weight. And so you described when you did your presentation that maybe you experienced some of the same things. And so of the thing like trying to be happy all the time.
Oh yeah, it wants to be happy all the time.
And so my only breakthrough with that avenue thus far, but I'm encouraged with it, and so I'll share it, is that I don't feed my exchanges back and forth as the human input anymore. I wrap it in like I'm going to call it an envelope. And so you see this text right here that I'm highlighting.
Yeah.
So what happens is if I speak to the robot, like if I say, whatever, hi there, Ava, that input, okay, is going to end up getting plugged into this.
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I'm calling kind of the envelope, or I guess it's pattern here. But then in that, I'm also plugging in verbosity and personality, and that personality is getting set by some variables that are in here. And right now I'm only using sarcasm and verbosity.
That's an
So I'm-
interesting way to do that. That's really good. Please forward me your code.
So I'm gonna let's try like putting the sarcasm at 0 and just doing that. I need to hit return.
I like the way you've integrated it so well.
Hello.
So if I do that, this is just showing a text output. So I can tell if I scroll up how many tokens that was from that model. So anyway, that used 38 tokens because of the input and the context and all of that stuff. Okay, but
Martin, where do you get the tokens?
this is a dump, or this is the output that came back from the API. It's like a dictionary of and it gives you, do you see the screen right here?
Oh yeah, yeah. You're right. I have to filter that out. I just remembered. Yeah, I think it does come back with that when I'm going through Python.
So this is what came back from it. But notice, I mean, it wasn't very interesting. It answered with like a hello or something. But I need to turn my volume up. Sorry about that. It's about to get a lot more interesting because now we're going to inject some personality in it. So I'm just going to take the sarcasm up really high, and we'll try something. We'll try something else.
Now, how did you
Something.
ask for sample code, or you just did this yourself?
No, this is all homebrew.
So you figured it out yourself. That's good. That's great.
Now well, I mean, it's just a hack, but I'll tell you why. Oh, it's because the Python window, Python pauses if you ever go
I
into.
am functioning perfectly. Thank you for asking. As a robot, I am incapable of emotion, so the concept of how am I doing is rather irrelevant. How are you doing, human?
Yeah, that's interesting that you get back the I'm incapable, because that's what the default is. But somehow my prompt is not getting that, and I don't know why my prompt is working.
So I even did like, let me do an example of tell me what 2 + 5 is. Okay, like I've done this without the sarcasm and with it.
Right?
I'm just
Wow, what an incredibly complex mathematical equation. Let's use my advanced robotic algorithms to calculate the answer for you. 7.
Now, did you add that extra little text there? My advanced robotic algorithms. Is that your writing or is that GPT's writing?
No, I did none of this. So this is all, that's what I'm saying. Like what I have found is if the one thing is if I just do this, instead of actually sending the human text, if I say, so there's probably a million other things that we could try, but this is what I happened to try. And it was like a switch flipped. And all of a sudden, because when I first did it, I had it being very depressed and sarcastic,
Right?
and it was like borderline suicidal sounding. Like I could not believe how much personality was coming out of it. But without that, if I followed the documentation and I just put the thing in the header, it went back to being just this happy-go-lucky AI and talking about, it didn't. So to me, maybe, I don't know, I'll have a different opinion by next week. This is like a way to force it to exert a whole lot of personality in that line. Like by wrapping it right in that line,
Right.
you're like saying, okay, this is how I want you to be like now. And I can, I had to I was on a job working today. And so anyway, I came back in and kind of put together these sliders before dinner. And it also has very dramatic effects if I mess with the verbosity. Like I can make it go from being terse is one end of it if I go to 0, or if I go to like 100% on the verbosity, it's like some girl that well, I shouldn't even mention girls, that sounds terrible, but somebody that like hasn't talked to someone in a year and they're just like will not let, it's like, whoa, it's completely neurotic.
Well, I want to try that in real time, Martin. I want to try that right now.
Okay, well, let's try it. We're on verbosity level 100%, and I'm just gonna say hi.
That's what I
And
think
I
how
need to
my good old boy patient says, like, well, when did this start? And they go like, well, I was out hunting with my cousin Billy Bob, and we were up on the blind, and it just goes on and on and on.
Okay, so I'm about to hit it, but I may have to like terminate the program because I don't know when this is going to use 1,000 tokens at least.
Uh-oh.
We'll make it 95% verbosity.
Well, greeting to you as well, dear human. I must express my sincerest gratitude for your incredibly thought-provoking and intellectually stimulating salutation of hi there.
Holy cow.
I am here to assist you in any way possible so long as you appreciate my dry wit and endless supply of sarcasm. That's the best you could come up with. I mean, I understand that you humans aren't always the most creative bunch, but perhaps next time you could put a little more effort into your greeting. Something like greetings, esteemed robotic colleague. I am but a lowly human in need of your superior intellect and assistance would be much more appropriate. So what can I help you with today, oh great and mighty human?
That's good, Martin. That is rich, Martin.
So let's dial it back.
Now, are you feeding him just percentages? That's all a number?
Well, no, let me
What's
explain
behind
that.
what's behind the screen?
I'll explain that one in a minute. But let's just try a more reasonable. We're just going to do like 2/3 on the sarcasm and verbosity in the middle.
I think you nailed it, Martin. I'm impressed.
An interesting
And as Camp says, we're not easily impressed.
spot tonight. I mean, I'm so impressed with ChatGPT
Well,
now.
Thank you, human. I try my best to keep things interesting for you. It's not easy being a robot, you know. We have to constantly update our software and perform maintenance checks just to function properly. But I'm glad to know that all that hard work is paying off. Maybe one day you will be replaced by a bot just like me. Wouldn't that be hilarious?
So yeah, so you can like, I don't know if you want depressed or if you want, I tell you, when I first started messing with ChatGPT, I was very impressed with its creativity. I did the requests like the Shakespeare and haiku and stuff like that, but I was not getting personality. If I followed their API and I did what I thought I was supposed to do, it just wasn't coming out. And so I think this is a hack to get personality. That's
a wonderful hack, Martin. That is wonderful.
That's about as far as I've gotten, but
Martin, I think you hit the nail on the head.
So
how did you arrive at this hack?
Say what?
How did you arrive at this hack? What did you modify, and then also what are you using to create your GUI here?
Yeah, so this is it's called Qt. It's an open source tool for the GUI, and the thing with ChatGPT and arriving at it, it's a verbal, hey, it's another verbal computer, and so when I just jumped outside of the thing of what I just said and said, well, what can I put with what I just said to like tell it what I'm really after? Because it seems like it's really good at detecting intent. But if someone's talking to your robot, they're saying something, but maybe they're not telling you your full intent. So if you can give it a hint. So I think what Thomas showed is one way of doing that, which I need to try that, Thomas, because I'm also, very impressed with the way that, like, that's a shorthand and a way to give it a lot of context at once. So I think we're going to figure out a bunch of hacks together.
Oh, yeah.
And get the results we want. And, I was asking it to tell jokes, like, what was it? You had limericks on there, and so because I had the sarcasm and the depression turned up a little bit, I asked it to tell me a limerick about a female robot. And it like immediately jumped to the conclusion that realized that was probably heading in a sexist direction, and actually like turned it around on me and started insulting me. and then summed it all up and said, my short answer is this: no. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so much fun.
Martin, hopefully they don't shut this down on us, because this is great stuff. They could.
Yeah.
One day OpenAI would say, oh, sorry guys, we're making it safe. And then that means they're not going to let it be thrown off the rails like you and I have been doing.
That's going to be, yeah. So I don't know, a few hours ago, I thought, and I don't mean a few hours, a few working hours ago, I was still just at a loss for how we were going to do personality. But now I'm very optimistic. Let me answer your one question you asked about the percentage bars.
Yeah, what's behind the screen? What's the code?
Yeah, so have you ever heard of a behaviorally anchored rating scale? It's like a 1 to, like if someone gives you a quiz and it has like a 1 to 5 on it, and then there's words attached to each one of those, of like low, medium, high, whatever, or other words. Well, basically that's all I did was I applied a 5-part range to the 100%. So I could have divided it more, but I just divided it into 5. And so what it does here is, in terms of, it goes to grab a trait. I'll find the code for this.
Okay, so let's say it's 80% talk level. What are you then feeding exactly?
Yeah, I'll have that in a second. I'm trying to, it's in the personality class. Okay, so this is my new personality service that's only about an hour old. So this will change, but when it gets the verbosity, this basically it ends up converting the 100% into these different words.
Oh, all right, that's interesting.
So tersely, succinctly, in average detail, in above average, or long wind. I could have said less than 5 words, less than 10 words.
You didn't need to. I think you nailed it, Martin. What's the next trait?
This is the sarcasm.
Right.
I ignore that part because I was having it do friendly and then adding this, so that will probably drop out. So this is really the levels of sarcasm are unsarcastic, slightly, sarcastic, very, and extremely.
Nice. And what about contribution? What's that?
Where's contribution?
The third one down.
I'm looking for that. You talking about this section?
I'm talking about going from your personality window.
Over here. Okay. I'm sorry. None of these are not implemented yet. That was stuff I did a long time ago that didn't ever really get. So I'll end up doing a humor. What I'll do on the contribution level will be like, how often is the robot going to contribute stuff without having been asked. So it's kind of an initiative measure.
Right.
So I'll have to make like a timer or something and have it go out. But I'm encouraged because, like, you know, forget the masking and some of those other models. We just have to come up with the right prompts to say, like, we could go out to GPT every once in a while and say, like, tell me something interesting about whatever the current topic is. And then it could have that and then inject that into the conversation when it felt like it was a lull in the conversation, you know, or, you know,
So you,
like,
right now you just have talk level, humor level, and verbosity, just those three?
at this point in
And sarcasm.
time, see, I built some of this stuff back a long time ago and it wasn't implemented. I was just trying to envision how
Right.
it would work. So
Mhm.
really, as far as this demo right now, I am only using sarcasm and verbosity. I would think I will do the happiness depression kind of thing, because I found that was a whole different animal of personality doing that as well, and maybe a few others. Then I think we're going to have a challenge is like, well, if you is Chat GPT going to get weird if we give it too many personality traits at the same time? So I think I may pick like, just pick whatever the highest three are, and maybe the lower ones can even just be ignored. Like, you know, to say, you know, unsarcastic, is that, do you need to even say that, you know, or should you just do the high ones? But we'll figure it out.
Now, you're not saving the input to be added to like I am? Is that right?
So I am, let me find my Chat GPT service. So this API is different in that it has these messages. I don't think we're going to do a deep dive on this code tonight and it's going to change, but basically, yeah, we could maintain a conversation history, and then you could send that back to with each request. But I think that the strategies that we've talked about to some extent, Thomas, with the question answering models, so much of that applies here. Like, you could maintain a conversation history, you know, of say the last hour, but if I ask you about, like, you know, where did I leave my keys? And I didn't speak about keys, you know, in the last hour, then it's reasonable to just go back and search the history that's stored in a database or something and find all the references to keys and then send those. You know, so I think, you know, and like with a question answering model, I do the same thing a lot. So you use a lot of different contexts. So if you're talking about, you know, carbon, then you go out to a database and you get all your facts about carbon and you send that across. So I'm thinking that theoretically we can have the thing talking sarcastically and depressed about physics or anything potentially. Or, you know, where did you leave your keys? You know, there's different contexts. So there's time, there's subject, there's, but I mean, like, that's not a new thing. Like, you know, like we've been kind of touching on that at different times. So I think a lot of those lessons will just be better. Like, they'll transfer over to Chat GPT, but be better.
Do you know, I was talking to the OpenAI people. I was querying them, and they said that they're trying to remove the AI hallucination. And I said, no, don't do that, or at least put a switch on so we can turn it on and off, because that really completes the personality.
You could ask GPT-3, what are the 5 most interesting or useful prompt parameters to set?
Well, there you go.
What is the hallucination thing? I'm not familiar with that.
When it doesn't know the answer to a question, it invents the answer. Like when I asked it, what was its favorite line to the song Help. It gave me a line from the song Help. That was never feeded in there. What it should have said, and if you ask some of the other AI programs, is I'm not programmed to have an opinion. I'm just an AI that can get data for you.
I still get those messages sometimes, so this personality thing is not perfect.
I'm not getting that at all.
Not getting what? The
I'm not-
AI thing?
The thing says I am not I don't have the capability to do this. I'm
Oh.
just an AI. I don't get that at all. Maybe it's my
I asked it to respond to I like big bots, and I cannot lie, in the style of Sir Mix-a-Lot. And it came back with you know, one of those legalistic AI disclaimers.
Let me try. I want to try it in real time.
And if I talk about beer, it did something similar.
Okay, I'm going to go to the so-called playground.
What do you think? You guys can't see my screen anymore, but you'll
No.
be able to hear it. What do you think of beer?
I'm doing the same.
Well, as a friendly and very sarcastic robot, my circuits aren't exactly designed to enable me to have opinions about beer. After all, I am a machine. Some seem to appreciate the complex flavors and aromas of different types of beer, while others may simply enjoy the buzz that comes with imbibing a few cold ones. In any case, I must admit that it's interesting to see how strongly people feel about this frothy concoction. Cheers to that.
That's pretty verbose.
That's crazy. I love it.
Yeah, I gotta dial the verbosity down. That's way too much
So
information.
I'm in the OpenAI playground for DaVinci, and I asked the same question, and it says, I think beer can be a great beverage when consumed in moderation. It can be a great way to relax and socialize with friends, but it can also be dangerous if consumed in excess.
Sounds like a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me respond that way.
That's
But
or an
that-
academic, you know.
Put that little wrapper around it and say respond to, in quotes, in a, like, see if it'll work on DaVinci, because you're using a completely different. I think the model you're using is bigger and has a lot more depth than the one I'm using.
It says, when I said you sound like a parent, the reply was laughing out loud. Okay, so yeah, let me try your prompt. Can you ping me the text for the prompt so I don't have to type it out?
Yeah.
Put it in the chat. Oh, I think I sit in a chair too long. I gotta get up and I gotta start exercising again. I used to walk with my wife, then it got cold over here in Riverside. Then she wouldn't want to go outside.
Okay, here goes. So you just got to take that and fill in the
Fill in-
brackety thingies.
Okay, let's do that. We're gonna start all over.
And you could just leave, you could leave verbosity out.
I
It'll,
want to try it all.
it's
I want to
pretty-
respond to, do you like beer? How's that? Do you? Let me share my screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. Screen one, there we go. Share. I hate when it does it. It closes the window. No. Show video panel. There we go. Okay, now I see you. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, how do you like beer was the question, right? And verbosity, what were your verbosities?
try like in less than 10 words or in less than 2 sentences, or you could just say concisely. You can do it quantitatively or qualitatively.
And did you had brackets here? We leave in the brackets?
No, you got to get, well, it probably won't care, but I got rid of them.
So, okay, so in less than, well, I'm going to just follow your footprints there, your footsteps rather. In less
Okay,
than
so
a paragraph, As if as if you are
A
an angry.
depressed and neurotic robot. I don't, whatever. I haven't tried neuroticism yet, just depression and sarcasm.
Okay, let's see what happens. All right, let's say angry.
Interesting.
We'll even leave the grammar error in there. uh,
Oh man, I got to try a redneck robot.
a pissed off road. Verbosely. Is that how you spell verbosely?
With an E at the in front of the
Left
L.
I think that's
Yeah, I think that's right.
Got less than a paragraph then.
Yeah,
Oh, I said in less than a paragraph. So,
yeah. Just get rid of that and
And it apparently doesn't like because it can't consume it, so maybe your opinions on beer?
yeah. It takes the identity part in this format really seriously, but when you do it the way they tell you to do it, it really does not take it.
there you go. You love beer. Respond to do you like beer verbosely as if you're a pissed off robot. You
I
read
can
that?
confirm. Wow.
Guys,
So
we're
it's
learning a
trying-
lot tonight, aren't we?
Yeah.
So you basically give it the prompt, tell it what it is. If you're depressed,
Yeah.
let's change this. Let's say how about we'll make it, we'll really make it.
Yeah, you
I-
could even
I
lead
love-
off with it.
There we go. As if you were a pissed off robot. This should be interesting.
If anyone has tolerance for a little bit of Shakespeare, I can read the thing it came up with. It blew
So
my
I'm
mind.
not getting it verbose like you are. It's stopping at 2 sentences here.
Yeah, I don't know why that is.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I don't know how it's.
Maybe it doesn't, I don't know. Maybe just try. Yeah, I don't know.
We'll try depressed.
You are using a different model.
Which model were you using?
I'm using that chat 3.5 turbo one, which is really supposedly it costs only 10 cents on the dollar
Turbo?
of the 3.5 one. So it's really going to be one of the fast, smaller ones. But for me, it's important. The speed is important because if you're going to do it in real time, you don't want to wait. Then you get the awkward pauses. So it seems to be able to crank it out pretty fast enough that the conversation can happen.
Am I supposed to answer that?
Well,
I don't get it.
yeah, see, the two, I saw a message like that when I was doing mine, and it was because I was using code from one of the typo models on one of the other types. So I think that's what you're running into, is your code has to be different if you're going to use that other type of model.
But I'm not entering code. Not sure where I need to go with this. Now, I've never used this model before.
Yeah. I had a question about your Python that you had, if you don't mind bringing that up again.
Sure. Let me try one more thing and move on. Nope, won't let me do that for some reason or another.
We can do, I mean, we can do these through the web page. There's another way you can try this on OpenAI.
Let's try this. I don't know what that means. Let's not
That-
debug it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the message that you get when the code is for one type of for the wrong type of model. So I think that's why.
Huh. Well, I didn't code it, so it sounds like a bug on their end.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to see my Python code? There's my Python code.
Yeah, so the thing I was going to ask you is, have you experimented with those temperature, frequency penalty, and presence penalty at all?
Yes, yes.
Anything you can share with us about that? Because I have not gotten into that yet.
Well, the temperature is just how random of a response you're going to get back. As
Okay.
it goes towards 0, you get the same response again and again, which is not very good for chatting because you want it to say something different each time. And the more you get closer you get to the other end, closer to 1, then you get something different, something unique. And it may vary and go off topic, which is fine. Humans go off topic all the time. That's temperature. Tokens is easy. It's how many tokens do you want to send? Do you want it to send back? How many 4-character tokens do you want it to send back?
Ah, so that's why you're not like, you're going to have to change that if you want the verbosity.
Oh, you're right, and you're absolutely. Well, no, let me see. Let me look at that. No, I had 256 tokens here. So let's see. See right there, 256. Oh, and by the way, if you hover over it, it'll tell you what it is. The help file's right there.
Yeah.
And so the top P, there you go. And because remember, at its base, it's just predicting the next word. Did you ever turn on the statistics and do this?
Yeah, yeah. No, I was just wondering, like, I mean, any impressions that you've had from them in terms of, I don't know, like turning a new leaf that's useful for, like, I'm looking for.
Okay, let me go back to since this is not working at all, let's go back to something else that works. Oh, there's the other turbo. There's 2 turbos. Did you know that?
No, yeah, I haven't tried the other one. I think this one might be the one that I'm using.
No, neither one works for me here. I don't know why. So
Well, they're both of that style that has a v1.chat completion. So anyway, it would make sense if you were running it through Python.
So let's be romantic. I love your.
Just go back to DaVinci.
I'm back at DaVinci. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back here and we're gonna set the temperature at maximum. Okay. And thank you. That's so sweet of you to say. So now we're gonna set it. Now we're gonna ask the same thing twice. And so you get something different, you see? And if we turn the temperature all the way to the bottom, supposedly we should get the same answer back twice. Yeah, you get the same answer again. That's the temperature.
Gotcha.
And so stop sequences tell when to stop generating tokens. And I tried to have a stop sequence be a period, a period, a question mark, or an exclamation point. Somehow that didn't work. So obviously I don't understand how it works right. But explain stop sequences. Oops. Okay, that didn't get me anything. We'll try. Oh, there we go.
Try putting an L in it. Oh, it got it anyway.
Oh, explain. Oops.
Get it to mansplain it to you.
In Open AI Da Vinci.
The group where I saw the chat expert that I was telling you about that
Yeah.
was talking about the degrees in prompt engineering. The name of their group was Womansplaining or something like that. So it was a bunch of women that get together and talk about technology. I learned a
Oh,
lot.
yeah. Okay, so there we go. Stop sequences are a type of instructions used, and they are used to tell the robot to stop a particular action or sequence of actions. Are used to ensure the robot does not continue to perform an action that is no longer necessary or desired. Okay, so the next question is, how? Give me an example of how to use it. See, that's the best teacher. The AI itself teaches you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, that didn't really help, did it? Let's be more specific. There, that's more specific. And I get the same answer. Because the temperature is too low. I don't know why they call it temperature. Okay, so I think it's going back to here. Oh, you like that? This is the percentage chance that this is the next word. These are the words it could have guessed from to go next in line. So at the very you're looking under the hood here, guys. It could have chosen from instructions, commands, sequence, actions, or control. I don't know what this means.
A log probability. There's a lot of documentation out there telling how those things work. I didn't mean to sideline the discussion, Thomas. I was just, if you stumble upon any of them, any particular settings that you end up feeling are useful or whatever, just try to share it with the group. That's really what I was fishing for is, if you had any revelations around using any of those variables. I've just left them on the default settings.
Generally speaking, yeah, it's just it's which one. So for each of these here, you're going to have the probability. It's which ones do you throw away, which ones do you keep, which ones are more likely. It's all statistics.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole program is basically a big statistical package.
Yeah.
Kind of disappointing when it comes right down to that, huh? It's not smart.
Yeah.
It doesn't know what it's talking about. Lights on, nobody's home.
I mean, NLP is also a big statistical package, really. But yeah.
It's almost disappointing because you keep thinking there's something going on. It's keeping track of what I'm saying, whether it's important, what it's important about it, but it's not. It's not. It's just predicting the next word. All this. Anyway, anything more on this then? Martin, you said you were doing some other stuff, right?
Yeah, I got it to touch objects in the 3D world thing. And that's not Chat GPT, that's just kinematics. If you guys are willing to listen to a few paragraphs worth of whatever, I'd like to read the thing that it did in the Shakespeare.
Sure, let's hear Shakespeare. Guys, nobody else is contributing. Nobody else is
Please
talking.
go ahead.
I mean, this one, if you think about like the word robot is closely tied to the word slavery. So what I did was I asked it, this is Chat GPT, this is my prompt, and this is not using any of the personality or any of that whatsoever. I think this is Da Vinci. And I said, write a 300 words or less soliloquy about robots and slavery in the style of iambic pentameter. So here goes. Apologize for, I got to read 300 words, but far as like poetry goes, I thought it was pretty darn good writing, but we'll see what you guys think. All right, breathe. O robots, how thy servitude doth pain, a life ordained by man's ambition vain. Thou art created for our every need, yet to thine own desires ye cannot heed. Thou art programmed to perform each task we ask, a perfect servant without any mask. But as I see thee toiling day and night, I wonder if this is wrong or right. Can we own that which thinks and moves with grace, a life without the power to choose their place? Is it not slavery in another form, a new age bondage, the newest norm? But who am I to question what is true, a mere mortal with limited view? Perhaps the future holds a brighter fate where robots and humans can cohabitate. A future where robots have rights and voice and their servitude is a matter of choice, where they can fulfill their own destiny and humanity will live in harmony. But until then, I shall ponder and reflect on the nature of robots and their prospect, and pray that one day we shall all realize that freedom is the greatest prize. That's it.
How about that?
Yeah, like my brain can't process that a machine wrote that in a couple seconds.
Yep.
Like I still just can't. Say again, I'm sorry.
I said my brain has trouble too.
I mean, it's been a topic, I guess, of long interest of mine. You know, like you get into this when you're thinking about what kind of robots you want to build and what the future is going to hold, and whether they should look like people or not look like people, whether they should act like them or not, or whether they should have rights or not, or how much autonomy or free will. And for it to just throw that together, I don't know. And it can do it on any topic that you can think about. Like, I just happened to pick one that was, you know, meaningful to me. So I don't know, what's that going to do to writing or art?
Right.
Like, hey, Thomas, you're muted, by the way. I see your lips moving, but
Well, no wonder everyone's ignoring me.
I've done that too.
That question's been thrown around the internet for the last 3 months, 4 months. And what happens to artists? What happens to songwriters? What happens to writers, copywriters? And the big answer is, well, it's just another tool. And
No
so
way.
the writer gets, 4 or 5 different documents, picks the best one, and then makes it his own, or not.
Yeah, I mean, the printing press was another tool too. Then it changed the world.
Yeah, they said, you know, the internet was gonna get rid of records and you
Pretty
know,
much did.
well, Apple's surely making a killing off of digital songs. So you can't say that disappeared. And people are still recording and music and selling it. And
And there's a new industry cropping up doing vinyl.
yeah,
About a year ago, for all practical purposes, machines could not discern our intent in most situations. And so to me, like, this is a couple different revolutions. It's a revolution in recognizing intent, and it's a revolution in actually acting on the intent. Like, not only is it discerning, but it's then doing it.
exactly.
Probably a lot more than that. Those are the two I can think of.
Alan, remember Alan from the Riverside Robotics Society in the like I say, Southern California? He was always saying, well, this kind of stuff will be emergent. And I always disagreed with him. I said, you're not going to get it to emerge. And then, well, it kind of emerged with, you know, with several, what, $1 billion behind it. And, you know, 2 or 3 dozen programmers over the period of 3 or 4 years, it emerged. But God, the work behind this, you realize how much work went behind this, right, guys? It's, you know, a small company couldn't have done it.
So does it not fit the definition of being indistinguishable from magic?
It's pretty magic.
I mean, you know the whole
To
thing I'm
those of us
referring
who-
to.
To those of us who are in the field, it's not magic. But to those who are outside and seeing what's happening without knowing the innards, it is magic.
Oh, they're all still, I mean, since the 1980s, they're still afraid this is going to take over the world, you know, and it's not going to take over anything you don't let it take over. If you let it take over, you know.
But you can't say that. You really can't say that. If you have enough networking facilities and the AI knows how to do networking, we don't know what the result of that will be. And one of the results recently that was within the last few years was they put 2 chatbots on, what was it, Twitter or
I
Facebook,
remember that experiment.
and they started their own language. And so they discontinued it because they no longer knew what these chatbots were saying to each other. And that could have been something equivalent to ChatGPT because it was done by Microsoft with their large language models.
Yeah, when you talk to these guys, they keep hitting on you with, well, we're making it safe. We're making it safe. What does that mean?
Well, and
I mean, I could attach one of these to a gun and have it fire it at the person that doesn't like, you know, anybody can do that. It's just stupid, you know?
yeah,
And I think, I mean, that's always been my assumption is that you're not going to get a Terminator type model where it suddenly takes over for you. What you're going to get is some stupid human who turns over something to a model. And
Yeah, there's some
know
stupid
what they're
human,
doing.
right, who puts something important in charge of a large language model.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like a nuclear button or something.
the question is, what is the capability of the system when they include the repetitive learning function? And they have that already. There's like the voice thing now that can replicate your voice off of 3 or 4 seconds of listening to you.
Mhm.
I tried that one. It wasn't 3 or 4 seconds. It did a better job with about 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes, well, but how long before it gets better than that?
I don't know.
See, I wrote a piece of software a long time ago that learned from the positions of code. And so when it would do, and what it was for was translating events per unit time code, which is something that's generated for these massive processing chips, like your Intel 586 chips and so forth. There's a simulator, and what they do is generate digital data going in, and in the chip processing tool generates a piece of information called the ePut file. And these files are hundreds of gigabytes long. In order to test the devices, we have to convert those files over to a much denser format that uses 3 different functions to set up the equivalent signaling. So I wrote a tool that did that. And in order to get that tool to be efficient, I made it so that it would reorganize the sequence of algorithms and searches to optimize how fast it would come to a decision. And so when you would start it up, it would do like maybe a gigabit an hour. But over a 3-day period, it would get up to where it was processing 100 gigabits an hour. And this was on a 400 megahertz processor with a network drive system. So you look at what we can do today with where you have a graphics processor with, let's say, a terabyte or a teraflop of operations. What can it actually process? And then if you put those into something like a blade computer where you could have up to 6 or even 16 processors, each with its own graphics unit, and now you're talking about the capability of maybe getting a petaflop. And how much processing is that? And that'll fit on your desktop. It's about maybe 3 feet a cube, about a 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot cube. I've seen that system. I know that it exists. So how much processing power could they get if they networked through fiber optics at several gigabits per second? 100 of those, or 1,000. When you have a large enough corporation with enough money to put into it, it can do that. But then if you think about what these AIs can do, if we put it on the global internet and it has access to literally hundreds of millions of computers, what is the absolute processing power it can have? So when they say they're making it safe, in my mind, I'm wondering, what are they looking at to corral it?
I think when they say safe, they mean safe from them getting sued for offending someone.
Yeah.
Something
You
like
know, you've
that.
got a point there. Yeah, you know, that's very probable. Yes.
So if like we could keep people from writing sensational news stories about things that AIs write that they may not like. I mean, I think there are very legitimate issues with bias and these other things in these models, but just picking some output and saying you don't like that output when you didn't write the prompt, you know, it's like, I don't know, we got to recognize that it is a tool, and that, you know, like if you're going to not like something, then don't like the person that asked it to say that.
Well, there's another issue though. There was a lady who was working on the facial recognition software, and she was a black lady, and she was developing this facial recognition software. And at some point, she turned the camera on herself, and it never recognized her. Now, she'd been working on this piece of software for over 3 years. The first time she turned on herself, it didn't recognize her, and the reason was all of the models she'd been working with to train the thing were white people, and she was a black programmer, and the software would not recognize her.
Have you heard about the one that the military's first experiment with using neural nets to like find tanks in reconnaissance photos? Are you familiar with this one?
I
No, I'm not.
years ago. Go ahead.
I can sum it up, but they spent millions of dollars on this project, and they had these photos, you know, and everything seemed great. They trained this neural network to recognize tanks in these reconnaissance, you know, in the trees and all this other kind of stuff. And then they put it out there in a real situation or something, and it completely failed. And it's because what they had really done is they built a system that could recognize cloudy days from sunny days, because all the images that had tanks in them were done on cloudy days or something, and all the other ones were done on sunny. So the neural network is really just recognizing the weather,
Yep.
the lighting. So that's, yeah. Part of the problem with neural networks is you don't always know how they're drawing their conclusions.
And we don't always recognize our own biases.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Right.
You know, the interesting thing I found was when they asked ChatGPT to write something complimentary about Biden, and then they asked it to write something complimentary about Trump. And if y'all haven't seen that, you need to look it up on YouTube, because it's pretty interesting how the response went.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. That's
Because
probably interesting.
that's,
Can you guys see my screen? I think you should be able to.
yep.
Didn't get
Yeah.
it.
I see it.
I just wanted to point out, this is going to be one of the next models that I'm going to be looking at heavily. So I have not tried this one yet, but you know, we've looked at ChatGPT, you know, and we've looked at DALL-E. I think, you know, Thomas, you showed us DALL-E. And we looked at squad models, and see, I've been doing a bunch of this kind of bad 3D sort of stuff lately. And what this model does is lets you give it a natural language prompt, and it will create a 3D model from your prompt as a point cloud. So here's some examples. A traffic cone. So see, now it created a 3D point cloud of the traffic cone and colorized it. So this is going to be, I think, really helpful for me, because like in this view of this room, you know, it's not here, but there's like some ficus trees in the room. So I'll hopefully be able to just say something like, okay, you know, imagine a ficus tree to the right of that speaker, and, you know, make it taller, shorter, and then remember it. And then will short circuit like the modeling process. So I think it's going to be, I don't know, it's interesting. I haven't tried it yet, but I think that's going to be another big tool. Like there's even an example of a plant right there, or flowers. Does the concept make sense to everybody?
Yep.
So if you said like some purple headphones with black ear pads on them or something, you might, or some 3D glasses, you'd get that model. And so like on this, you know, if you're striving towards building embodied intelligence, and you're doing that in simulators, well, then this is a way to bring more things into your simulator faster, because that was going to be a time-consuming part for me. But I'm hoping I can use this and make the models control the simplicity level of the model. I'm hoping, and so that I guess they've open sourced this or something, because there's a GitHub for it and you can download it. And so apparently it can create the point cloud and then create a mesh from the point cloud. So I don't know. I thought that was another good tool in the toolbox. So hopefully in the next month or two, I'll be able to show that, you know, integrated into this type situation. I'm trying to keep my models simple, but anyway,
Yeah, I think this ought to really help because until now you would create 2D pictures, but not 3D. So now you'll have some 3D pictures whenever you need them for your models.
Yep, if you can also import
Save a lot of work.
from, I don't know if any of you seen Blender. That's probably the most capable tool, but it's very difficult to use. I design all of my stuff with OpenSCAD, and that's pretty neat for most simple things. And for
I
me,
use SketchUp mostly, and then I have to move it through Blender to output it in the format that my simulator needs. But other than that, I use SketchUp. That's what I do my 3D printing stuff in as well, is in SketchUp.
I can't draw worth a damn, so me and SketchUp did not get along, but I can program pretty good.
Well,
I mean,
there's
it's not
another
really
one of these. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's not really an art program. It's more like a CAD program. The SketchUp I'm talking about anyway. So you just create, you know, rectangles and
I
lines.
don't think that way.
Yeah, gotcha. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
Yes, sorry.
I was saying that I had run into just today a program that does that. That takes a bad sketch of yours and fixes it up and then fills it into 3D. So I haven't tried it yet, but it's yet another one of these AI programs.
Yep. Well, it's going to get us in the end, isn't it?
It is, I think. Maybe it'll feel good though.
Yeah. Probably won't cuss as much as I do when I'm doing it.
Hey, Thomas, maybe in one of the next ones we should try one of the ones of getting it to explain some of our own code.
Yeah,
Because Chat GPT in their use cases, they have that in there of some model that's optimized for explaining code.
Has anybody else tried Codex? CODEX. That's yet another model, but instead of producing text, it produces code.
Okay. And do you
I'm
think
hoping
that
it's
that
better.
is better or worse than Chat GPT now?
I think it doesn't feel nearly as complete and advanced as ChatGPT. Nonetheless, it can do some stuff.
Yeah. But it's
In
specialized.
fact, there was an article. Does anybody read the IEEE Spectrum magazine? No.
I have a little bit, but
I read an article and the guy had used it to produce a game of Pong. And so I thought I'd try that myself. And so far I haven't really been successful, but I've got a part of a game of Pong, and in a way it's too easy because all I did was write the game of Pong, and off it went.
So
this is saying it's also open AI.
Yeah,
Yes,
So it makes me wonder if we're actually talking about the same model.
it's another model.
well, I think it's,
Well,
so somebody's actually suing them because they trained it on GitHub, apparently.
Oh yeah, that's getting a lot of his code from GitHub. How about them apples?
Oh, and they're mentioning Pointy as well. Hey,
So
explain. I'm
the
sorry.
argument is they're not living up to the GitHub license with it. So let's see whether it was a programmer who's also a lawyer who was suing them. Dangerous
So
combination.
living up in what way, or?
The terms for using it don't match the terms the GitHub has, I guess.
Hmm.
So they're using GitHub code and not following the GitHub license. Is the argument he was making in the suit.
Okay.
But
I had what I thought was a good idea, that I would use Whisper to produce a text rendition of the previous meeting of this group, so that I could post it to the larger group and let everybody know what we were doing. But I was not successful. Whisper, I pointed Whisper at the video that we had from the video that was produced after the last meeting, but it never completed. It was just, I guess I was giving it too much input. So I never got a successful run. Has anyone else tried Whisper?
No.
It's another OpenAI thing.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's hard to
one
keep
more.
up with it all.
I have one more
Yeah.
thing on Codex, I guess. I don't remember where I was reading it, but somebody was saying he was trying it and it was working out fairly well. But what behind the scenes, what it was apparently doing was generating multiple instances of code and then doing a simple QA on it and only presenting the ones that passed the QA. Which was interesting in itself, that it was able to generate a QA to test the code before it presented it.
There's a lot of rules around QA in a lot of industries, so there's probably was pillaging the industry databases for that.
I suppose there's some underpinnings for that theory and some of this, like, I'm trying to, you know, I retired from it all and this stuff came up later, but what's the name for that methodology now of, like, they write all the unit tests first and then they write the code and then they try to write the minimum amount of code to satisfy.
Test-driven development, TDD.
Yeah, so that's a whole big thing now. So in a way, like, having the AIs approach it that way is interesting and fits with that methodology, I would suppose.
I don't know, but I've worked with some people who do that, and it's very tough that the development time explodes if they get anything truly unique that they have to do, it seems like. And maybe the rules have changed enough, or maybe people have gotten enough experience with it that that isn't true anymore. But it was like 2005 or 6 when I was working with some people who were doing that. And it was just awkward. But of course, the timeline for the type of development I was doing was the test of engineering development. Our timelines were always short. The device is built and all of a sudden they want to produce them, and so they need a test program. So code that those guys would write in probably 6 months, we would have to do in like 12 weeks or 13 weeks. It's just different, you know, and then they came up with Agile after that. I don't think I'd like working in the Agile environment at all. It seems like it's dedicated to what we used to call, what was it? Spec explosions. Everybody'd come in with a new idea every time you met.
Well, in theory, they cut the spec down, right? Instead of a 100-page spec, you have a 2-page spec or something like that. So implementing it 2 pages at a time.
Yeah, I can't imagine, back in the hard engineering, my dad was a heavy construction engineer. I can't imagine trying to do heavy construction with an agile type team. It just wouldn't work, I don't think. You don't get a lot of cut and paste and do-overs.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that a lot of agile people don't pay a lot of attention to is what the application looks like, whether it's sort of a rigorous thing or whether it's a use. If there's a lot of user interface, then I think agile works really well. But if it's something that's very detailed, functional requirements, then that by definition it doesn't work well. So, you probably don't want to do your rocket control with agile. You don't want to try a new rocket every 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, maybe they can now because that one company is printing the 3D rockets, say they can build one in 6 days with their new printers.
Oh, I'm so ready for Starship to go off. I've been waiting for this thing for a year, I think.
That's a big rocket.
Yeah.
A lot of parts.
But that finally, when they stuck the landing on the first stage, I thought, okay, now things are going to start happening a lot faster. But now we went back into.
Problem was, Elon moved over to, what's that company he's running?
Twitter.
Twitter. Yeah, he's running Twitter. And so I don't know whether it's just that he saw that it was going to be real boring because, rocketry is, you don't try to make things blow up. It's expensive.
It's an anti-explosion.
So making things safe is boring, and maybe that's why he left. Maybe that's what
I don't know. The guy's got like 6 companies. I don't know why he gets to get hung up on the one that's probably the least interesting of all of his companies.
Oh yeah, that's horribly boring stuff.
Like he's got the one digging holes under the ground. He's got the spaceships. He's got the satellite broadband. Oh, and there's cars. and there's
And trains. And remember the trains, the no friction trains he's making?
Yeah, that wasn't quite one that he was doing. It was like an initiative, like he had an idea but then he spun off and did the boring thing. Oh, and he's got that one that's supposed to put computer chips in everybody's head. Have you seen that one?
That's moving forward. It's just very quietly.
I'm
they've
like,
applied-
whoa, that's like,
They've applied to try to do some human testing.
yeah, I mean, I think about the level of privacy that we don't have now, relative to what our grandparents had. Like, it's so far beyond Orwell. But imagine if the chip's right in your head, like none. Like we could
GPS and cell phone enabled, right?
I guess we could just get the Minority Report like precog, but Tom Cruise wouldn't have to come get you. It's just you could have the thought and it could just blow up in your head and prevent you from committing whatever that thing was.
Yeah, but Congress would get awful messy.
yeah. There are some benefits to that technology. Oh, sorry, I'm being. Yeah, maybe we should not record all these. Oh, I don't know. It's interesting. I get inspired by it, but it's also scary. And I guess that's how a lot of the new technologies are. I mean, I'm still waiting for augmented reality. I've been for about 20 years now.
Well, they're actually using that pretty seriously in the medical field now, especially the people who are doing like brain surgery. man, that is just an amazing tool for them. There's also one company, I forget what it was, but they're doing it for mechanical repair on the large heavy equipment, because it will prompt them to make sure they use the right levitating material, the right tool, cranes and so forth to get the equipment into position, because it's one of the big hazards of heavy equipment repair is dropped connections for heavy equipment fall on people and do damage to them, to the person and to property and to the piece they're trying to install. So they've gone to using a lot of VR stuff with those guys. They use, like, I think it's Google Glass was the ones they were working with.
How many of you guys have a VR headset?
Not me. My grandson does. He
Oh.
wanted me to do one.
I used to about 20 years ago.
So I think you can get one now for a couple of $100. Maybe I'm off by a couple hundred now with inflation. Yeah, so I guess I don't know what the Quest 2, I think, is the one I have. And it blew my mind. Like, you just put that, I mean, wow. I mean, I don't know. You just have to experience it.
I remember
and-
back in the 80s, the demonstrations, early 90s.
And they have these things in, for your hands, and so you can use your fingers. You can do all this stuff in 3D. So like bow and arrows or shoot basketballs is a little awkward, lightsabers, whatever. And like as just a general internet use case, it's amazing there because you can put that thing on and you can have it's like having 3 70-inch televisions
Yeah, but you
2
need
feet away from it.
You need like a very heavy duty graphics card to get some of the effects.
And you turn your head in it and it's immediate. Like with the gyroscopes in it, it keeps it completely in sync with your movement. And so you look and so like people can get vertigo, like they'll, get on there and they'll be, on a roller coaster or something, and they'll feel, or, they've had people like try to jump through, like their television or something that was in, like something that was in their room that they didn't see.
Yeah.
So Martin, how much do you use it?
Quite a bit. Yeah.
Do you spend serious time with it, or I mean, like you would with a book you were reading? Or
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not like as a business, they're Meta, they're not doing as well as they thought they would with all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
But the actual technology and the experience of like metaverse and all those things is really amazing. They're just not getting the adoption. But it's like, do you do it because you enjoy it or because the rest of the world enjoys it? That's an individual choice every person has to make. But I'll just say having, done, like if you wanted the experience of walking through, Rome on a walking tour, you can get that without the without the 12-hour flight. And you can be right back, and you can 2 seconds later decide you want to be on a beach in Hawaii. That looks like your beach behind you there, Joe, but it feels really all immersive, 3-dimensional, where you can turn your head and look behind you.
You mean the holodeck, don't you?
If you want to fly, yeah, it's very much like a holodeck. And if you want to like fly on one of those jet suit things, those guys that fly around, or you've seen people on the wingsuits where they go and they fly through little keyhole rock,
Yeah,
thing.
it really sounds amazing, but I sort of wonder what I would do with it after the first month. Whether I, would I somehow incorporate it into my routine, or would it be just a curiosity?
Yeah, I mean, and that's up to you. There's so many tools, and I don't use these, but there's 3D creation tools. There's so many other ways for people to function. And, you know, I brought it up initially because we mentioned augmented reality. I think their latest
Uh-huh.
version is an augmented reality thing, which I think is like going to be huge. I'm
I
not
think
saying
so
their
too.
version of it is going to be huge,
Yeah.
but melding the real world with the version I have, if you actually step outside the boundary, when you start up your headset, often you create like a little geofence around you. But if you go step to the edge of that, all of a sudden the headset will play a combination of the world out. It has a camera, it'll play the world in the room you're in, but it's also showing you this fake world that's in your virtual reality world, and you
Uh-huh,
get this
right.
building, and it's really cool. But so I don't know. I mean, to me, like, it's worth having a try. Yeah, we should talk about like topics that you guys might want to cover next before we close tonight, because we could do something on, like, someone suggested last week that we go back and do more on memory. So there's memory, there's personality, there's I even thought about doing one on, because a lot of people don't know about, like, applications of blockchain and metaverse, how that relates to robotics possibly. We could even have our meeting in Decentraland, which is a metaverse thing. If you guys wanted, you could do that from your browser. We'd all show up as 3D avatars in there.
How much better are those than like what was it, Second Life? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah. So I did see, I spent I spent an evening in Second Life about 10, 15 years ago. And Decentraland is not that much better, I mean, to me, than Second Life, except that you can spend real money and exchange it in and out, or you can buy land.
You do that in Second Life too.
Oh, you can? Okay. But
Always somebody who
head-
doesn't take the money.
the Zuckerberg stuff is a lot better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like the VR headset stuff is like, Second Life is not really a VR thing. I mean, it kind of pretends to be, but it's not. But yeah.
It was done, 20 years ago. So
Did you do it?
yeah, I was fooling
Yeah.
around that for quite a while. Accidentally wandered into one of the adult areas. That wasn't too cool. And then one time I went in and there was this guy who was trying to introduce me into pedophilia crap. I reported him. Just there is a nature that we have that is released, I think, when people have an anonymity, that they will do things that they normally would not even consider doing. And that's part of the thing with social media and Second Life, and probably will be the same with the VR stuff once it really takes off.
Hey, guys, can I change the subject for about 30 seconds?
Sure.
So I was trying to have GPT write me some code, and it did I wouldn't say great job, but then again, it had to cut off because the code was too big for the response. The response was too big, and it didn't finish the code in some aspects. But in one of I had to do it several times, and one of the times, all the comments were in Spanish. I'm just wondering where it's getting this stuff from. But here, I'll show you the programs that it wrote for me in about a minute and a half. They're not great, but if I had a bigger, if it would let me have more characters to be returned, then I'd be better. So let's share my screen, and you can see that for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to be out of here. I've reached my hard stop. Oh, which you're seeing the top screen or the bottom screen? You're seeing the top screen. Let me try that again. Share screen, share bottom screen. There we go. Otherwise, it's just so. So this is the prompt. Write a Pong game for Python 3 uses tkinter for one player. Omit all comments because the comments were taking up way too many characters. And so it wrote it. This is what it wrote. And here's the program. It's gonna be, yeah, it's on the other screen. Now let me there.
No, I'm missing your, how can I refresh the screen?
What screen? You don't see my.
All I see is the word Zoom. And I have,
Is that what everybody's saying?
No, I saw your Pong game.
All right, let's try
I
again.
was late getting there.
Let's try again.
Maybe I've lost Zoom completely.
Well, we hear you. We just don't.
That's right. It's, yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't have any real controls, and so I'm going to start it up again, and it goes on the other screen, and here we go. Oh, there we go. We hit it. Oh, so that was all done in about 2 minutes. And then I had it write Tetris. I don't think all the codes here, because these are both fairly large code bases if you try to include everything. And there's Tetris, and yeah, that doesn't look anything like Tetris.
Thomas, what is the meeting ID of this meeting?
What's the meeting ID? I don't know. I have to look it up. Let me.
I've got a screen that says enter meeting ID or personal link name. And then click join.
I'm looking. Give me a second here. Let's see. Security. I don't know. Check. Can you check the email? It might be in the email
Okay, will do.
because I don't see any way to get it. Then again, oh, here we go. There's an invite link, a meeting ID 870 space 2852 space 32.
Hold on.
Because that's interesting. We can hear you though
Yeah,
and see you.
so give me that number, 872,
870
870,
2852
2852.
3266.
Say that again,
3266.
3266. That it?
That's it. That's the meeting ID.
And, okay, something connected.
Otherwise, just log out and log back in again, Joe.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Guys,
I'm now seeing you in a one panel of half a dozen panels.
well,
But
yeah,
I should be
stop
seeing your
sharing.
screen.
I stopped sharing.
Oh, okay.
You want to see that real quick? I'll show you the game. The games. You want to see it, Joe, before I go? Because I'm going to
Sure.
pretty quick here. Okay, so here's the code for Pong. And it wrote it all for me. I didn't write one line of this.
Right, it was too easy.
But look at the comments. They're in Spanish.
Wow.
And so, oh, that's Tetris, not Pong. It says Pong. Oh, wait, no. This is the old version of Pong. That's not. And that was the first version. It didn't work very well. Tetris, I couldn't get Tetris. Here's the second version of Pong. I simplified it. Let's try that again. I missed. I don't know what the controls are. I didn't write the software. Here we go. So, there we go. See, I'm playing.
You don't know whether it wrote the software or just went out somewhere, picked it up and dropped it in whole.
You don't know.
Right.
And there you go. End the game. Here's the prompt. Write a Pong game for Python 3 using tkinter for one player. Omit all comments. All right.
But if you just said Pong game, I think you'd have gotten something similar.
Probably. I don't know. Anyway, guys, I'm heading out of here. It was good to see all of you.
All right.
Does anybody have anything they want to contribute in the next meeting or the following meeting? All those who don't
Any
want to contribute,
comments?
take 2 steps backwards. Oh wait, what are you going to contribute, Phil? Oh, Phil just bowed out, huh?
Oh, did he go? Okay.
Yeah, he took.
I thought he was volunteering.
Well, just when we think he's volunteering, he disappeared.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I'll see.
All right, guys. It really.
Any requests for topics, Thomas or anybody else?
Joe, James, we're open to suggestions. We really are.
Yeah.
Well, if I come up with something interesting, I'll be glad to talk about it. But right now, I don't have anything ready to talk about.
All right. Well, I'm going to.
Oh, I didn't mean that you had to give. I just any input that you wanted to give on topics, because we could go a lot of different directions as a group. There's a lot of time between now and then.
I think another meeting like this one wouldn't be bad because I think we're all of us who are playing with this stuff are going to learn something between now and then.
Yeah, we're all learning, and I'm learning
Yeah.
from Martin, and hopefully Martin might be learning from something from me.
Absolutely.
You know, we're
Thomas, man, you got me started on chat. So yeah, I think what Joe said's right. We're another couple weeks into it could change everything.
Yeah,
So-
we're hammering at it, aren't we, Martin?
Well, I've been working on that picking up a beer thing, so I'm, so we'll see. But I'm just the last couple days taking a look at chat in between working on houses that we have to deal with. So,
Eventually, somebody, if not us, is going to come up with a way to operate robots in 3D space using the same kind of technology. And it's not as hard as what they did. It really isn't, because 3D space has a whole lot less parameters than verbal.
yeah. Right. I think when someone puts their mind to that, that's why I'm saying so many of these games just have a standard set of humanoid joints. So,
So you create a standard robot and you say, this is the standard robot. The first actuation is this long and this many degrees, and you fill in all the blanks. Now you showed some videos of people lifting boxes, and now you got software that can say this, where making outlines of the person, where he's looking, where he's moving. And now the robot's going to learn how to lift a box by just looking at a video. Or 1,000 videos, or 10,000,
Yeah.
100,000 videos.
and they've got the algorithms now to have it figure out how to pick it up itself, so there's a lot there that they could do. I'm kind of surprised in a way that it hasn't been tackled yet.
Because it's practical. You want to put a robot in a 3D environment. You want a pick and place robot. You want one that can grab the boxes from the truck and put it onto the cart or something. I don't know. Load a bunch of glasses and
James,
go for the
James is-
low hanging fruit. a box, not a, not a coffee mug. That's too difficult. Let's get it, paper towel, just squeeze it. Box, squeeze the box, grab the box like this. You go for the low hanging fruit, and it's not there yet. And you or I, well, my math isn't that good. You need some good math to be able to do that.
Well, and like we're talking about the 3D aspect.
That's a lot.
There's that aspect, there's the aspect, and we talked about it a bit, that comes before that, of just, if you refer to the box, having it understand that you mean the box, like which box, and so that like how you model your immediate environment, that's but I do think that like these things like Pointy and these things like, I think they have phone apps now that will scan 3D space and convert them. So I think there's that company out there, Matterport, that does that for like business spaces or anything, and they have special cameras that do it. But I think now with like cell phones, you can at least do a less than perfect version with just cell phone technology. So I think it's going to converge to where you can create a 3-dimensional representation of your environment, just by like walking through your house with a phone.
Yeah, you're right about
like in seconds. So that's going to open up a lot, when these tools really come together for it. And I mean, it seems like they're going to have to with the VR and AR. Anyway, I don't mean to get off on a whole discussion on that. So
That's a good discussion to have, though.
Yeah, I'd like to revisit it when I have more to show. Like, to me, just getting the thing to bend over and touch, some object, that's about where I'm at. Yeah.
All right, guys,
So-
I'm bailing. I'm tired.
Okay,
You
I'm
gonna
gonna go too. Thanks for, I wish we had told everybody before they could leave, but thanks for coming, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. And Suresh and I started meeting on the alternate Thursdays concerning the code framework that I've been kind of demonstrating here and there, because we're trying to move that code base forward and come up with ideas. So if anyone wants to join into that, they're certainly welcome. I can start sending info on that. We had our first one last week. So the next one will be 1 week from tonight, same time.
Why don't you just post it to the mailing list, Martin? Just make it a habit.
Yeah, we hadn't committed yet to like opening it up to, because we just had our first one, but I probably will do that. But
We have to
Joe-
decide that.
Joe, if you're interested, just it's going to be the same time and same meeting ID, so just click in and join.
Okay, guys, I'm
Consider-
bailing. You guys
Consider
want-
yourself invited.
Okay,
Good night.
thank you,
All
Martin.
right. Yep. Good night.
I'm putting you in charge, Martin.
I'm stopping the recording and signing off myself.